Okay, look like we are live. Welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Donna Craddock, co-owner of the Doc Bookshop, and I am in the company of some magnificent, marvelous minds. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to just share with you a little bit about the Doc Bookshop. We are an indie bookstore. We're on the east side of Fort Worth. We've been around for 17 years and we sell books, we do events, and we love community. So if you're ever in the DFW, please stop by the Doc Bookshop. And also you can shop online at thedocbookshop.com. So definitely check us out. Invite others to join this conversation. We want as many people to hear what we're talking about because today we're dealing with money, we're dealing with wealth, and we're dealing with legacy. And we got some folk here that's going to talk about that. They are respected in their areas. And so let's just really just delve right into it. Let's just get started. Okay, so let's start with you, Tara. Kind of introduce yourself. Um, tell us your business and how long you've been in your area of expertise.
Okay, so I'm Tara Porter of Tara Porter Insures Life Insurance. Get some. I have been in the life insurance industry for 5 years now. My job is to empower people by making sure they have the tools and the information that they need for a lifetime of protection
Mhm.
during and after their years of employment, as well as during and after life.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
And I'm Ray Williams with Genome Emmett Incorporated, doing business as Greenway Capital Management, and been around for years, over 25, 30 years in the personal finance industry overall. Basically, at this time, specialize in personal financial coaching and mentoring. And that entails dealing with anything from credit management, cash flow management, debt management, real estate investing, and general personal financial planning.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Lucky. I'm CEO and owner of L&M Financial Services. And basically, I like to help people as it relates to getting out of debt and the importance of getting out of debt and how it's going to help them to not just prepare for today, but to prepare for their financial future. I just recently retired with the federal government after 35 years, and I've always had an interest as it relates to finances. So now coaching and working with people as it relates to, again, getting their finances on track. So glad to be here, Donna.
Okay, well, I'm glad all of you are here. And each one in their own way kind of came to me and said, we need to talk to the community about money, about getting out of debt, about insurance. We want to share this information with the community. Just kind of tell us why do you think it's so important for the community to have this information?
For me, I feel like the life insurance category period is it's almost not prioritized in situations where it should be, where people sort of put it on the back burner. It's sort of like, well, I have all these other things going on. So, it's like when you're looking to budget, a lot of times the first thing people do, they cut off their streaming apps, cut off life insurance, cut off. And it's like they haven't really mastered how to prioritize it. And I don't think enough people understand the power of life insurance. You don't have to die to use your life insurance, first of all. So I'll talk more about that later, but I just really feel like it needs to be more prioritized. I feel like it needs to be generationally taught. I think our grandparents did a great job of getting $5,000 to $10,000 policies on everybody, but what they didn't do was teach us the importance of insurance and why they did it. They just had it, so we were covered. We have to do more.
Okay.
Well, from my perspective, it's about building wealth overall, because we're not overall financially literate. That's why a lot of times we get taken advantage of on purchases, on loans. We get the higher interest rates. We get some of the, a lot of the scams pulled by people not selling us what we need, opposed to selling us what they want us to have based on how much they can make on it. But one of the important parts to it is that once you become financially literate, hopefully you'll pass that on to your kids, and that's where the generational wealth come in. And for example, when someone passed and they leave a home to the siblings, generally what happens, a lot unfortunate, sometimes they just sell the house because they want the cash money.
Right.
Or I've had cases where people actually let the property go into foreclosure because they didn't know, well, just rent the property out,
Right.
or just rent it out for the payments, to keep it. So it's about literacy. I mean, it's about knowing what you have in your retirement plan. If you have a 401k, what does that fund manager invest in?
Right.
You know, I've had people that have 80% in bonds, and for the average person, you don't need to have your 401k in bonds. So it's overall financial literacy.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with the financial literacy. When you think about debt, you ask yourself, how many people that you know that's suffering in debt? It's a lot. And most people don't even know, where do I begin? And then you have to ask yourself, why am I in debt? So I want to be able to teach the basics to people. Let you think about the things that have caused you to be in debt, and then in turn, the things that you can do starting even now to get out of debt. Because as I was sharing with Mr. Ray earlier, what you don't know, you don't know. So it's not about pointing fingers or blaming anyone. When I was growing up, my grandparents didn't know a lot about money. So I had to learn these things. Did I get in debt? Yes, I have been in debt, but I had to learn financial literacy and how applying the strategies could put me in a better position. So as I mentioned earlier, once I retired this year, I didn't have all this debt weighing me down. Because don't you know a lot of people, Donna, they wish they could retire today, but what's the number one reason that they can't?
Dead.
I'm in debt. I don't know what to do. So hopefully by teaching the strategies and bringing these things to your attention, you can better prepare yourself.
Okay. Well, good stuff. Okay. So let's just talk general right now. Let's talk about budgeting. Okay. So what are your thoughts on budgeting? What would you like for the people to know?
People should budget, I think, but unfortunately, most people don't, or they won't, you know, because it's not a priority. So, and once they budget though, it's actually sticking to the budget, because a lot of people say budget. You can create a budget, but we stick to the budget. And unfortunately, that's where the problem come in. Most people will not stick to the budget. And give you example, I was, mentioned earlier, had a person 2 weeks ago who went to a dealership to buy a car, excuse me, to get an oil change. They already had a 2022 vehicle. They retired, they have less than 2,000 month income. They go to the dealer for a oil change. They end up buying a car. That's, you did not budget to go in and buy a car. So why did you go to get an oil change and you come out with a new car?
Right.
And people do. I saw YouTube the other night where this gentleman wanted to buy a Hellcat, I think it's a Challenger Charger or something. And he did buy it, but his payment was a half of his net income. So it's not, that's not in your budget, is it, to use half your income on a car payment?
Right.
So people just don't budget overall.
Okay.
And I think it's important, Donna, because you can sit down right now, sheet of paper, even if you don't have a budgeting out, and you can write down your income and your expenses. Look at the money that you have readily available. Okay, you said it's not enough, I need more. That's where this budget comes in. Then, like I tell people, take out your last month's bank statement and highlight the different things that you've been spending your money on. And I guarantee you a lot of those things you can either eliminate or cut back on. And what will that do? That's going to help you to have more cash flow. So budgeting is a good thing because again, it can allow you to look at where am I at right now. If I say I'm going to spend X amount of money a month, again, as Mr. Ray stated, you have to stick to it though. But that budget is going to provide you some additional income. And then guess what? You can do other things with that income. Invest, pay off the debt, prepare yourself to purchase that home or whatever that item might be. So budgeting is a good thing. You don't have to shy away from it. Is it hard? No, but you have to get started. And as I stated, there is a lot of apps out there. You don't even need that. Get your sheet of paper, look at your income and income versus your expenses. That'll tell you where your money is going. And then you can take that additional money and start applying it to the things that you know that you need to focus on.
Okay, what I'd like to touch on that is, in what she's basically saying also, I would say is cash flow management. Because you said a budget, now you have to manage your cash flow.
That's right.
And an example, if I have someone, and let's say they have automobile insurance full coverage, And I look at it and I see that they have the lowest deductible opposed to the highest deductible. Then I would say, well, maybe you want to take the higher deductible because you may save $50, $60 per month, by having that higher deductible. And so you look at different things, where are you spending your money? You get the best deal. Can you refinance it? Like example would be if you had a vehicle that's a late model vehicle, which most people don't do this because they don't know if they can refinance your vehicle. So if you bought the vehicle and you got 20,000 financed, you had it for 3 years, now you owe say 10,000, you still paying on $20,000 loan. Refinance it into the $10,000 loan and free up some money.
That's right.
So two
That's good
things,
stuff.
two things
Okay.
come to mind for me when it comes to budgeting. Tools and mindset. First of all, mindset. If you have a poverty mindset, it's very difficult to hear this conversation here. It is hard to take this information. It's hard to see yourself being able to take the steps, simple steps that she just gave. Sit down with pen and paper. You have a bank account, the app is on your phone. Just open it up, look at last month and go down. But if you can't see yourself, because of the poverty mindset would tell you, it doesn't matter, I don't make that much money. It doesn't matter, I don't spend that much money. If you look at your don't spend that much money, I am a foodie. You're gonna look on my bank statement and see food. And I literally have had to say, okay, I gotta have a budget for all that I'm going to eat, grocery store and restaurant in one budget. Once that's it, that's it. Because I'm going to eat the money. I'm gonna eat the money. So I have to manage how much of it I eat. But that mindset, if you keep telling yourself what you can't do, if you don't know other people who have done it, if you tell yourself you don't know how, you don't know where to start, like you have the world literally in your hands. So that takes me to tools. Tools are important. You need to have the tools. Sit down and figure out. My family just did my oldest daughter set up an event with our family where we did a call once a month to talk about money. To make sure we shared tools. And
I like that.
she shared tools with us. And so it was about, okay, what is your credit right now? What do we need to get it fixed? What kind of accounts do you have? What kind of savings are you looking at? How many streams of income do you have? What else can you do to make some more money? So all of these conversations once a month, we sat down and did a Zoom call.
As a family.
As a family, my two daughters, myself, my sister, and my nephew, a couple of other people, and my cousin, and we're all over the place. One is, where's she at? I can't think of what state she's in, but we're all over the place. And so we zoomed in. A couple of people fell off and didn't keep it up, but at least 6 of us met every month and worked through these steps. So the goal there was not only the communication and the lessons that we would have learning from each other, but the tools. Coming up with tools. She was like, okay, I got this video. I'm sending everybody this video. Here's a spreadsheet. Try this and see if you like it for budgeting. So it's the tools and the mindset. If you don't get your mindset wrapped right, people in the worst circumstances make it out.
That's right.
Because of their mindset, because they can see something different for themselves and their family. If you're not allowing yourself to see something else for yourself and your family, then you will never see something else for you and your family.
Can I say something?
That's good.
And I agree, like she said, mindset. Because if you
Everything.
convince yourself, I can't get out of this,
You
there's
can't.
no help, it is what it is. No, it's not. It's not. It is what it is. Unless you decide it is what it is. So you have to tell yourself or surround yourself. If you can't do it by yourself, that's okay. Get in a circle of people that can help you. But the main thing is you have to take action. Like she said, tell yourself, I want to change. I am going to do better. Once you say that, make sure you're keeping yourself in a circle of people that's going to hold you accountable. And once you do that, you're on your way. And again, as she stated, if it's a family, husband and wife, then you all come together, sit down, look at your budget. Do it as a family because it's not just affecting you, it's affecting everybody in the family. So yeah, mindset, you're right, number one. Thanks, Dawn.
Yeah, I like that. And I love the family call. I love that.
Yeah.
I would try that with
It
mine.
was awesome. And listen, my daughter is such a thug. She was like, if you miss a call, you're out.
Oh, wow.
Like,
wow.
are you be committed? We're doing it and we're going to do it together. If you're not gonna keep, because we're doing lessons, she got a lesson plan and everything. If you're missing lessons, then you missed something last time and we can't catch you up. You're going to have to commit to this and we're gonna show up and do this every month.
Wow.
And like I said,
You think that would work for
a
us?
couple people fell off. Listen, but at the end of the day, the ones that are supposed to be there were there.
That's it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to institute
A
that.
little more than a handful of us stayed and did the whole process, and we did it. We only did it we did it once a month. I think we did it for like 6 months.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so just kind of reset everything. I'm in conversation with, again, some magnificent minds here, dealing with insurance, financial literacy, getting out of debt. That's kind of what we're talking about. Today, we're dealing with wealth and legacy. So thank you for joining us and tuning in. We're going to continue with the conversation. We just got through talking about budgeting and the importance of budgeting and having the mindset. You know, it all starts with mindset. And just sticking to the budget, which is always a challenge. But you know, sticking to the budget. So let's talk about debt. You know, some people say debt is good. Some people say it's not. You know, so what are your thoughts about debt and the management of it?
Well, there are two types of debt. They call it good debt and bad debt.
Mm-hmm.
So good debt is invested in real estate. The bad debt is buying a new car that you don't need, or buying, stuff on your credit card that you don't need. So it depends on which debt you get. Get taken out a personal loan or a business loan can be considered a good debt. So yeah, you decide, well, what type of debt do I want? Do I want debt where I'm buying real estate, or do I want a debt where I keep buying a new car every 3 or 4 years? So, and that's what happens sometimes, at least in my experience. And I have a thing I say is so many people are stuck on what I call instantaneous gratification.
Instantaneous
And
gratification.
that's the thing is they say instantaneous gratification is the killer of future wealth.
Period.
Okay.
And that's what happened. We have so many people, like, give an example, and it's coming up tax season.
Mm.
Notice this in your community, particularly in in certain community. Notice how many cars you will see with dealer tags starting in January.
So
Yes.
And the dealerships know it's coming. That's why they let us do your tax return, and we'll put your money down on a car. But we don't care if you have what the debt ratio is, because they know, they get their money up front because they finance it. So the dealer get their money. So they know there's a good chance that person will default on that car within 6 months to a year. But they don't care about that because they get all their money up front. So when you look around, you see all these people with new cars when they get those $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 tax returns. Even though they don't have no saving, that's the only large amount of money they have or ever get. Instead of, and they're not, they don't have the mind processing to say, well, let me get this $6,000, and it depends on their overall financial situation. They may can put down in a house, difficult in some areas, but an average house. And I like to use my daughter because maybe about 3 years ago when she bought her first home, she only put down less than $7,000, and the house was like I think it was $183,000, and her payment was only less than $1,300 per month. So it doesn't take a whole lot if you get a FHA, loan. So you're only putting down 3.5%. But if people not in the mindset that I can buy a house with this money, or we can buy a house. Like I advise people, if let's say you have 3 good friends or siblings, and they do have an interest in investing. Okay, 3 of you put your money together, go out buy a duplex or a fourplex, because you can get those financed as single family homes. And then each one of you live in a unit, and you rent the fourth. Let's say you get a fourplex, and then you rent the 4th unit out, which decreases how much each person has to put out for their monthly payment. So it's a process. Now you've gotten 4 units, and each one of you decide to move on and get you a single house. You keep the 4 units and rent those out, and you start building wealth.
Listen, there's something that I know that a lot of our people don't know about. When I think about debt, so sometimes hard times happen. So we just came through a pandemic. So some people accrue debt just because of that situation. Sometimes things happen. Life. So what if you had a life insurance policy with living benefits that you could draw cash out of and pay that debt off? You can draw cash out and make investments on the fourplex with your family. See, there's tools and things out here that a lot of people don't know anything about. I had one instructor, I went to a school and I was talking to a teacher. She said, I just need to know if you have an IUL. I said, what do you know about it? She said, nothing. My brother told me to get one because that's how he survived the pandemic. He was able to draw money off of his insurance policy to pay his bills for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Right. See, we're not having
What is
these
the
conversations.
IUL though? What?
Index universal life insurance. It grows interest. So you're paying every month for whatever your death benefit is, but it takes up to 8 years for it to mature. Once it matures, you can take money off of it, and you're only borrowing the money from yourself off of the interest from your money. So you're borrowing from yourself rather than take money out off of your retirement and pay penalties, rather than go to a bank and have to wrestle with them about, what interest rates you can get and how much they're gonna, let you get. And then how much you're gonna have to pay back, how much interest, so you can avoid all of that with living benefits with your life insurance. And a lot of people don't know that.
I want to touch on something back to homes. Some people say they don't want to buy a home for whatever reason. Example, I do know someone personally who can afford a home. He won't buy a home because the area he lives in, he can't afford a home in that area. My recommendation was, well, find something 15 or 20 miles away. No, I want to live in this area, but you can't afford the homes. So it's like, so he's paying, but the thing is, he's paying $2,300 per month for rent.
Ooh.
And I said, well, you can be buying you a home. You don't have to live in a home the rest of your life.
Right.
But you're saving money on taxes. You put money back in your pocket. Just so buy a house somewhere and just take the 15, 20, 30-minute drive to work every day. So people do that because they can't get what they want.
Yeah,
And they go out and buy what they can't afford, or they'll try to wait it out. And like, you're losing money because, if you don't have some type of tax deduction, and especially let's say if you're in a higher income, so you're paying all this money out in taxes because you won't buy a home. Now, if you have a home, another benefit. What happens? You get laid off, your income reduced. You're in an apartment, and if you can't afford that apartment, you can't go to them and say, give me a 30-day or 60-day extension on my rent because I have a hardship. But if you're buying a home, you contact the mortgage company and do a hardship, and they'll waive sometimes 2 to 3 payments, with no penalties, and it doesn't count against you. So that's an advantage having a home, in addition to the appreciation and the tax deductions.
Right.
Right. And you can see these are some good examples that we even sharing as it relates to debt. And a lot of people are probably sitting right now saying, but where do I start to get out of the debt that I'm in, especially that bad debt what we're talking about. And even in my book, I explain, perhaps you've heard about the debt snowball method or the avalanche, because either one of those is giving you the opportunity to either pay that debt down or to pay that debt off. Because remember, that bad debt, you're trying to get out of that, save as much money as you can so that you can do the real estate strategies, the IULs or what have you. But again, back to square one, don't run from the debt. Know that I have to face it head on. But since I'm going to face it, where do I begin? And that's why in this book here, I talk specifically as it relates to the debt snowball. It's not hard. It's not hard. But again, you got to look at your numbers, start with that smallest debt, get that paid off, take that money, roll it over into your next debt, pay that off and roll it over into the next one. What does that do? That allows you to get your debt paid off. And once you have that extra money, now don't go and throw it away. Because see, tax season is coming, those refunds. And if people really understood, refund is simply your money that you've been giving loan interest to the government. You don't want to do that.
People don't understand that.
They don't understand that, right? So you need to take that money and let it work for you. That's what we want you to do. But before you can do that, you got to get that money back from the entities that's taking it from you.
Yes. I'd like to touch on, not the debt snowball, but debt in itself. First step, you need to understand and know how to calculate your debt ratio. That's the big picture. If you understand your debt ratio, then you know where to start. So for example, let's say you run your numbers and you see that your debt ratio is 80%. Then that's basically saying 80% of your money is going towards debt. So you need to work on that.
Because what's a good ratio?
About 25 to 30%. And especially if it's under 25. but 30% is good. But when you start hitting 50, 67, and 80%, that's bad because if you need to get a loan and they look at your debt ratio, they know when we give you a loan, that's going to increase your debt ratio, which potentially increases our chances of you defaulting on our loan. So that's what people don't understand. Your debt ratio lets you know how much debt you're in. So as I mentioned before, it's that people don't know their debt ratio. So we see a lot of people sometimes, they live in a certain house, they have certain cars. And it looks good. But if you look at their finances, their debt ratio may be 80, maybe sometime over 100%. So it's one of those things that I always tell people is looking good and being broke.
Right.
But but most people don't know their debt ratio. They just know, I'm buying these 2 cars, I'm buying a home, I have the credit cards. They never look at their debt ratio.
Yeah.
And listen, with the debt ratio, it makes me think about the number one reason that banks get houses back, somebody died. Because we're using
Right.
80% of 2 incomes
Yeah.
very often to pay for our lifestyle, to pay for the house, to make sure we have the right cars because of the neighborhood we live in. All the things look great and shiny outside, but one of those people passes away and they're not properly insured. So that house is going back to the mortgage company. Now the family that's left are not only devastated because of the loss of the person, but now the loss of the income is also causing a devastation because they're not properly insured and they're overextended.
And like he said with the debt ratio, that can affect your credit as well. And so that's why it needs to be, because a lot of people say, well, I applied for this, I applied for that, and they denied me. They said my debt ratio was too high. So as Mr. Ray said, that's so important that you look at those numbers because certain things that you might want to invest in down the road, when it comes to your credit, you want that to be in a good place. You want to have as high of a good credit score as you possibly can. But again, with your debt ratio being too high, then it can affect you more in a negative way than it can in a positive way.
And so what's the quickest way to calculate your debt ratio?
Just get your income and divide it to your expenses or debt. Yes, it is real simple. Again, people just never do it. Another thing I like to point out is part of the equation is your net worth. Again, a lot of people have no idea what their net worth is. Again, taking for example, you have a nice home, 2 cars. You look at your net worth. Your net worth may be, say, $500,000. Let's say the house is $450,000, and the cars are $25,000. But now, when you get what you owe on the house, your net worth may be negative still, because you owe 400 on the house, and you owe 50 on the cars, so you $500,000 in debt. So your net worth can still be negative, even though you have a nice home and these nice cars. Your net worth is negative. So it looks good, but it's bad.
Right.
So people never look to see, well, what's my net worth? And let me point out this while we're talking about that. And I always like to point these numbers out. Wealth net worth. Median Black household wealth reached a high. This is a high of nearly $45,000 in 2022. Now that's more than double the post Great Recession in 2013. But white households net worth is $285,000. So we're at about $45,000 net worth. Whites at $285,000. And I don't have it on here, but I know it from a previous research. Asians is at over $500,000. So compare that, 200,000 to 45.5 million to 45, basically meaning we don't have anything to leave, the next generation. Because again, the real estate, they may own a house, and if they don't own a house, someone may get the house. Well, I don't want this old house. I've seen this when I was a loan officer. Actually, a good example. I had a young man who was, I think it was like 19 or 20. His grandmother passed, had a house, and house was worth at that time about $80,000. And he sold the house to some investors for like $40,000 or something like that. And then he didn't understand what he was doing. Then he get upset, after they told him he had to move, And actually, I have one worse than that. I had a lady who had her house, a small two-room house, nice small home, but it was nice. It needed some work on it. Paid for it. her husband had passed. Now, instead of getting a home improvement loan to fix the house up, she sold the house for $30,000 and went and rented a house, rented another house for $700. Really, that's safe to say, but a rundown house basically for $700 per month. And she said she
She
couldn't.
owned the house and she ended up renting the house?
Yeah, was the thing is she said she couldn't afford the payment. It's like, well, you have to pay rent, so why not get a home improvement loan
Right, and pay
and
that.
pay that and bring the value of the home up? But she let it go for 30,000, but she could have sold it for 60,000, but she didn't know what she was doing.
Listen, let's talk numbers more. So, let me ask you all this. Of all of the people in the United States of America, how many of them are going to die?
Die when? This year?
Die, period.
Everybody gotta die.
100%. So, in the United States, so check this out. In the United States, 100% of people are going to die at some point. Only 52% of them have life insurance. And of the 52%, majority of those people only have it through work, which means when they retire or get fired or leave their job, they don't have coverage. Big problem with that is, outside of not having it when you need it, the other side of it is, let's say you're gonna be the person that's gonna retire from your job. You retire, you don't have life insurance, I need to get some life insurance. Well, do you know you're only gonna get a teaspoon of life insurance at that age for high numbers because you've aged? The insurance game is a numbers game. The younger you are, the cheaper it is, because the insurance company's position is, hey, if I'm the insurance company and you're 21, I got like 60 years of money I can collect from her, likely, before she ever cashes out a claim with me. But if you are, I'm 56, they're looking at me like, oh no, she's almost dead. We're not gonna get that much money from her. We don't have the opportunity to get that much money from her, so we're gonna have to charge her a lot more money up front to justify and make comfortable for us when it's time to pay the claim. So people wait around until the last minute. And so like now the crusade for me has been, we're in the state of Texas. Texas is an at-will state. I think that should be illegal.
What's at will?
That means a company can fire you at will without any explanation. I could simply not like your blouse, and today is your last day, baby.
Right.
You're out of here, and I don't owe you any explanations for it. Used to be you had to justify why you let me go. You know, at will states, any at will states in this country, they can fire you, and there does not have to be any additional conversation unless you challenge them and take them to court about it. There's not going to be any more conversation. So why would people tie everything up? Look, we've been fed a narrative. Go to school, get a good education, get a good job, get you some benefits. Well, they don't tell you what happens after the benefits phase is over. Then you have nothing. You could literally work for 40 years at a job, have great benefits, great coverage, and then when you retire, you have no more benefits. They may let you take the accidental death, and you may have a little retirement money to cash out. But then you don't have any life insurance and you don't have any health insurance. So at this point, now you're older, you've lived longer, higher chance that there's medical issues that you have. So now I'm older and I'm not as well as I used to be, and I'm gonna die, and I can't cover any of it.
Right, right.
I can't cover any of it. And that is unnecessary. And so for me, what makes my flesh crawl is the GoFundMe page. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that.
Right.
I would rather see families say, hey, you know what? Let's pull together a little money and get everybody a little something. So the people who can't afford it, because maybe there's people in the family who can't afford coverage. But listen, if you're my sister and you can't afford coverage, guess who's paying for your funeral? Me.
Right,
So covering you covers me.
right.
Let's get you something. I have a sister right now. We're like, hey, job transition, no big deal. I got you. I'm paying. Don't let it lapse. Don't let it lapse, because then we're going to have to pay more if we keep letting birthdays happen. It's just another area of conversation that needs to happen. We've been fed that narrative of the good job and the good. That's all well and good, and it is good to have an education. It is wonderful to have a great career. It is wonderful to have the benefits from your job. Benefits from your job should be secondary. It should not be your primary coverage. It's going to be inexpensive to free anyway from your job. They're getting a group rate, so it's cheap. So it's really good. Wonderful. Opt in. But when you lose that job, leave that job, or retire from that job, have yourself and your family protected. And you're still possibly going to be underinsured because it's not going to be that much. you might get $25,000, $30,000 depending on what kind of job you have, and then they may give you the opportunity to raise it a little bit. It's not that much. You're not leaving any wealth. That is by design. That is by design.
Oh, yeah.
You're not leaving. Well, we're gonna get you buried, get you put away pretty decent. You know, get your little service right nice. But we're not leaving you and your family anything.
Right.
You just don't have this benefit from this job. So the idea of being protected with that, and again, you can have the living benefits where you don't actually have to die to use your insurance if you have the right kind. You can have living benefits and do things right now with that money. People do it every day. I hear things like this, and these things bother me. Well, I'm not trying to make a jackpot out of losing my relatives. I'm not trying to hit the lottery out of losing my what? What? She's dead. She don't care what you do with that money. And if she cares about you, she would have made sure it was enough for you to actually do something anyway.
Right, right.
It's not that you're waiting for someone to die to cash in, but my thing is look at it from the perspective of what can you do for the people that come behind you.
Right. Legacy.
Wouldn't legacy be? Wouldn't it be nice for the kids to be able to say, and listen, especially think about the people who are struggling. If you're already on a really tight budget and there's limitations to what you can do for your family members, wouldn't it be nice that you could say, you know, I can't do much while I'm alive, but when I pass, I got them set up pretty good.
Right.
You educate them and make sure that they're ready for that, and then you leave them something really nice.
Yeah.
So that they can get ahead with businesses that if they want to pay for school, if they need to pay for the first apartment or the first car or whatever it is, something. Something. We have something, because wouldn't a Head Start be nice?
Yeah, and it's like she said, you have to plan. Don't just solely depend on the insurance or the coverage from your job, because I guarantee you that's not going to be enough. With my job, being with the federal government 35 years, I had life insurance, but I eventually canceled that and I went on my own and got a different coverage where it was much, much better. But not only that, I've been able to use the different investments from my insurance and retirement, not just retirement from my job, but I've been able to set up additional money so that, like you said, leave something for your legacy for my daughter. So when I close my eyes, they don't have to worry about the GoFundMe. Everything is going to be in place where there's no debt. Mama left all this debt. What am I going to do? There'll be enough for her to even be able to take care of herself. Now, mind you, I'm going to enjoy some of my benefits while I'm living. Don't get me wrong. But I had to have that mindset. Okay, Nicole, what are you, once you retire, what are you going to do? What is your legacy? What are you leaving behind? Anything? Or just going to all be on the family? So I couldn't do that to my daughter. I had to make sure that I planned so that there would be something in place. So a lot of this might seem over your own heads, but it's just taking the time to ask the questions and let someone guide you in the right direction versus saying, I can't have that, I don't have the money. Again, back to what we said, what you don't know, you don't know. So if you don't take anything away from what we said, make sure you have your house in order, as I say. And that's from getting out of debt to having the life insurance to even if you want to do the investments from real estate to whatever. But you got to have a plan in place for you and your family. Because when you leave that job, then what? Because the job is not going to give you everything that you need. So you got to make sure that you have all the coverage in place so that, again, you're taking care of your current needs, but your future needs and the needs of your legacy is being taken care of as well.
You said something that was really, I didn't think to say it. You said that you eventually opted out of the coverage at your job.
Mm-hmm.
You have an option. You can opt out of the coverage at work. Depending on what you're paying, opt out. You don't have to have the one from work. Opt out of that one and use whatever funds you're using to pay for that, to pay for private, to go along with your private. But I want to tell this quick story. When I started doing insurance about 5 years ago, one of my cousins brought it to my attention, and she was like, I think you would be great at it. I was like, girl, I don't even see it. I don't care about it. And then I thought, cause for me, I'm the type of person, if I can't be passionate about it, I can't do it. Because then it's work.
Right.
I'm making myself do something that I may not be connected to. But then I thought about this. In 1991, my mother was she had left Texas and moved to the Carolinas. Her family reunion in Chicago was coming up. I was about 22, My older sister was about 26, baby sister was around 17. I and my older sister both were new moms. I had a 1-year-old, she had new baby twins. We all traveled from Texas to Chicago. My mom traveled from the Carolinas to Chicago for us all meet for her family reunion. We got there, we had a great time. And things in hindsight happened that were oddly perfectly timed. However, we make it back home first. Hey mom, we made it home. She's like, great, I leave tomorrow. I'll let you guys know when I make it. That lady was 46 years old, y'all. And as far as we knew her, slim, fine, small waistline. She never had a bunch of, medical issues. She was not on any prescriptions. That lady got on that train and left Chicago to go to the Carolinas, and she went to sleep and did not wake up on the train. And she went to sleep without life insurance on that train ride.
So your mom died on the train?
My mom died on a train ride, went to sleep on the train and did not wake up. So let's talk numbers again. They have to stop the train once they realize that there's a deceased person on the train. So whatever city it is, they have to stop the train, take her off. They take her off. The ride that they have to give her from the train to the nearest mortuary is, at that time, $800-900. Her body now has to be packed and brought back to the train station to be sent to Texas. Another $800-900. When she arrives in Texas, well, somebody's got to pick her up at the train station and take her to whatever funeral home we're using. We have another $800-900, and we have not had a funeral yet. And this lady went to sleep with no life insurance. People don't understand what that looks like. What that looks like is, while that is the person who is the best thing since sliced bread for me, I don't have, neither did my siblings, have the luxury of grieving first, because we have to fundraise. And you got a limited amount of time before this body has to be put in the ground. So, and this was GoFundMe. So this is go in her purse, take out her physical phone book, call all these people. Some of them you don't know. Some of them you haven't seen in years. Some of them you don't like much. Some of them there's beef in the family. You got to call all of them.
Right.
I don't care. I know we haven't talked in a while, Auntie. Listen, SOS, smoke signals. That is trauma.
Yeah.
That is trauma. It is already hard enough to deal with someone being deceased, but to have to fund their final expenses is insane.
Right.
My mother was the best thing since sliced bread. I know she didn't mean to put us in that situation, but I know she had poverty mindset, and I know she lived on a limited income, and I know she had been doing it by herself, and she was tired. So I know that what she did was she took time and health for granted. She thought she was fine. And she was only 46. That's not old. So I'm sure she thought she had some time to pull it together and find a way to get a little coverage and take care of that at some point. That's where my passion came from for this industry. That was what made me say, yeah, I need to help people to understand. So outside of all the ability to have living benefits and all that, just have enough to get buried if that's all you can have.
Exactly.
At least do that for your family, at the very least. And you have to do it immediately. To continue to put it off. I let my car insurance lapse for 2 weeks on accident one time. My car got totaled within that 2 weeks. Thank God me and my daughter didn't die. We got hit by an 18-wheeler. And it was a no-fault accident because no witnesses could determine what happened. I had to come out of pocket and get a new car. 2 weeks. So you could be off and just job hunting. You think you're going to hurry up and get something. You don't know what's going to happen.
That's right. That's right.
You don't know what's gonna happen. That car accident could be your last car accident, and you're uncovered. And here we are selling fish plates in your name.
And piggyback on what you said, the importance of planning and being prepared. The federal government was shut down, 40 days, just recently opened back up. And I know a lot of families hurt. And do you know families didn't even have an emergency fund to pull back on or to draw from? Because we're gonna have an emergency. The question is when it's going to happen. And I tell people, you don't have to have a whole lot of money to start saving. Take 10, 15, 20, whatever you can from your paycheck, have it to go to a separate account automatically and let that money sit there. Because I tell you, a lot of people wish, because I heard them say, Nicole, I didn't have $500 saved to my name. $500. Can $500 make a difference for a family? Yes. So my point is, you can't wait until the tragedy or the emergency happen to start preparing. we got to start preparing as yesterday because it's going to happen. So we can't take things for granted. Oh, that's not going to happen to me. How many people have said it's not going to happen to me? And guess what? It did. And the first thing we say is, oh, I wish I would have been prepared. So again, you have to take time and put these things in place. So like she said, we don't have to worry about the GoFundMe account because it's there. But even with my grandparents, I didn't learn a lot of this from them because they didn't know. They didn't have the money. But thank God I was able to get with some people, put myself in a circle where I was able to learn these things. So now that I know, why wouldn't I share this with somebody? Why wouldn't I share this with somebody so that they can better be prepared and you're not like, oh, what am I going to do? I have no help. I have no one to turn to. Start today, you all. Start today.
Okay, I'd like to touch on, sorry, I just want to touch on something in the insurance area, is that when people do take out insurance, what they really need to understand and make sure they set it up correctly is the beneficiaries, primary and secondary beneficiary. And the reason I bring that up, because I know someone personally whose father died maybe 7 years ago. He had a $80,000 policy. He had made the youngest sibling the primary beneficiary. But knowing the family, I knew what the father wanted was for the money to be split between the three siblings. But when the primary beneficiary realized he was the primary, he told them outright, nobody's getting anything, nothing.
Listen,
But father didn't know, well, just set up, split the beneficiary in the thirds, make all of them, beneficiaries instead of one. But once he
Trusted
found
that
out-
one to do right.
Yes.
listen, I tell people, you don't know what people will do in your absence. I don't care who these people are. These people could be your children, your siblings. You don't know what they're going to do in your absence because people start thinking for themselves and making decisions. I am taking a trust class in December because a lot of the policies that I help people to get are 6-figure policies. Maybe your family get ready to do some backflips. It's getting ready to be a whole zoo. You need a trust. You need to make sure this stuff is in ironclad documentation so that what you want is what exactly happens. Because if you don't, he's right. If it's not, if the beneficiaries aren't set up properly, sometimes people are trying to leave young, like this was a young person, they left this, they don't know what to do with that. Even if they have the mindset to be fair and right, they don't know what to do. It's a whole lot to do, even just from the phone call to make the claim. It's a lot. So that's the business that people have to take care of.
But when money's involved, that's when you start seeing the other side of people. Oh, I can trust her. She gonna do everything right. No. Make sure you have it in writing and you know exactly what's gonna be done with your money.
I speak on this at the last event John had. I like to bring this up because it's a good point. Like I say, making sure it's done right. When my daughter purchased a house, her mother and grandmother wanted to move in with her, which is okay. So I suggested to her that she have both of them to sign a lease.
Business.
Yeah, that's
And but the way I explained it to her, the reason is, number one, if there's any issues, you have to go through the proper channels. You got a lease agreement, but do it the right way.
right.
The other reason is because now you have this income that you can justify. If you go out and want to do something, you can claim that additional $1,000 as additional income each month. But the main reason is, even though it's your mother and your grandmother, if there are some issues, by law, you just cannot kick them out. You actually have to get them evicted by law.
Right.
And people don't realize, I had a rental property. I had bought, well, actually the lady gave it to me, the client gave it to me, but it was dilapidated. And when we got there, there was a squatter living in the house, drug addict. So we kicked him out, and I actually sold the house to his other guy, his Hispanic guy, his son. So when they go back to the house, the locks had been changed. The guy had moved back in the house. We called the police, and the police told us, you have to get a court eviction for him. So it's not like, well, he doesn't have a lease, anything, but still you have to get a court evicted to have someone evicted regardless. So people don't know that. Matter of fact, I have
Even if you own the house?
Yes. I have a classmate,
Crazy.
she had to move out of her house. I just heard this, she just told me this maybe less than 2 months ago. And she was out of her house for 60 days because her daughter and the daughter's boyfriend, she had, trying to help them live, by letting them stay there. They refused to move. So she had to go through the eviction process to get them evicted.
Listen, I think people are notorious for making emotional moves. Business is business,
Yes.
period. And if you don't handle it as such, your emotions are gonna get heavily involved before it's all said and
Yeah.
done.
Let me go to that. We just said I just read Urshan, the singer. Just read yesterday where he's filing a suit against two partners that he had invested, gave $2 million loan. They supposedly be investing in real estate, and they went out and blew the money. But it's like, okay, you give someone $2 million,
Without paperwork.
without some type of structure
Exactly.
to it. You just don't give them. You give them a promissory note. You have the money to go into a trust, and you disperse it a certain way. But you just don't say, okay, you my buddy. Okay, here's $2 million. Go out and do what you say you're gonna do.
Listen, worst case scenario, it could be a text message. You need something
Exactly.
that identifies that transaction as a loan. It can be a text message, it can be an email, and you can say to their face, I'll do it, but I need you to respond to this text real quick. Because we need to have something that's in writing saying that we have an agreement here. Because what you're not gonna do is tell me I gave it to you for Christmas. That's what you're not gonna do.
Yeah, it's a gift. They can say that they can come back and say, well, it was a gift.
Right. You need more than just word of mouth.
Period.
You need more than word of mouth.
So, but anyway, it's all about the wealth building process. And unfortunately, as I pointed out, the numbers with African Americans is obvious. Overall, we don't do financial management. We don't do debt management. We don't do, credit. Again, if I have my stats with me on credit, we have the lowest credit scores of everyone. We have the lowest credit scores.
Okay, yeah, I agree. We need to do better, but I hate the negative talk about what we don't have, what we don't do. So let's just say we got to do it better. We got to do it more. Okay.
And listen, and I'm saying this to be honest.
Because you just hear that,
To be honest, the
let's-
millennials are doing a greater job. Honestly, my daughter hosted this meeting that my family had. The millennials are doing a much greater job at learning this information, educating themselves, and sharing the information than some of the older generations. So there are pockets of people who are doing an amazing job of it. So definitely, we don't want to leave a taste in people's mouths that we're saying that all people are not doing well in these areas. We're saying that there are some people who are not doing well and they need help. And if you are in that category of people, be honest with yourself and get the help that you need so you can do better. It's the mindset shift and then taking action the way it was said here. But that shout out to, I'm telling you, these millennials, these children are killing the game. They are already learning how to master dealing with
The millennial
trading.
generation.
With the trading, with all of the, they are doing a great job with real estate, with trading. They're doing video games. They're doing some amazing things with everything. So it's not everybody, but there are just people who could afford to do better. So we just want to make sure we are honest with ourselves and identify where you are and do what you need to do to elevate.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what, if I can say, and again, Donna, you're right. We're not trying to put nobody down because none of us have been perfect. We've all made mistakes as relates to finances. But my thing is that I wouldn't want to see people have to go through turmoil and they don't have to unnecessarily. So again, you might not know where to begin. You might not have the answer, but reach out because somebody is going to have an answer that can guide you. Because my thing is, what I don't like to hear people say is, oh, I can't. So-and-so, somebody, they're pointing fingers at everyone else. And we don't want to point fingers at anybody. I want to look at what can I do different. So hopefully by having this discussion, it can just kind of help you to sit down and think about some things and look as far as where you need to work on making yourself better as it relates to your finances. So it's not about pointing fingers, but instead helping you. That's what it's about, is helping you. So again, I know this is a lot of information, but just know that there is help out there. Don't think you in the struggle by yourself, because everybody's struggling. The economy right now, it's in bad shape. But you don't have to stay where you are. That's the thing about it. So long as you know you have the resources available, you can get through it.
Yeah.
You can get through it.
Well, like you talked about earlier about group programs where you get with your family members or your friends, start investment groups. So if you don't have the money, like I said earlier, you don't have say 15,000 put down on a home. Find some other people that have money. Even if you have to together buy a single family home as an investment property, buy it together. You know, if you can manage it, then work your stair step your way up to other properties.
Right.
But unfortunately, so many people think it takes a lot. They think it takes a lot of money. There are strategies technically people can use to get houses or properties with no money. I mean, give you an example, a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't know that they can have control of real estate and make money off of it without owning property. And you do that by, you know, like, for example, I go out and find someone who can't afford a home, but they want to keep the home. Yeah, I can negotiate, assuming it's a reasonable payment. Okay, you know, lease me the property for what you pay on it. Give me the right to sublease the property. So if they're paying, say, $1,500 per month, and then you go and say, okay, I'll lease the property for $1,500 per month. You have to move out, but I have a right to sublease it. Then I go out and sublease it. Say in the market, they'll say the rent is $1,800. I sublease it for $1,800, so I'm making $300 on that property. So you go out and get you say 10 people that would do that. And now you got $3,000 per month additional income, and you don't own the real estate.
That's good. I like that.
But a lot of people don't know that you can do that. So, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of these strategies are out there. They're not. Some people try to make them seem difficult. That's why they sell the courses, because they want you to believe it's difficult. Like now, the big thing, everyone's having what they call a master class. They have these master classes. They charging $15,000 for and stuff like that because they want people to believe, you know, you need to have all this technical information, which is good to have it, but you don't have to have it.
Right, exactly.
You just need someone that can coach you, say, hey, this is how you do it. You know, a lot of rich people, they don't go through all that. They have coaches and whatever advisors. This is what you do. You know, that's the way it works. You know, you don't have to spend all the money, go to school for years and years to learn it. You know, let me know what you want to do. I give you the advice on it, and you follow the advice. So, unfortunately, in our community, we, you know, on average, don't hear about these things. You know, real estate investing, like I said, when I moved back here from California, and in the late '80s, over in this area, Southeast Fort Worth, say, where you could buy rundown homes for $3,000, $5,000, and people weren't buying them. And I would ask people, why are people buying these homes? You know, and they thought, you know, it was no value. And said, well, no, there is value because they've been depreciated. So you go in, get it at a good price, put 5, 10,000. If you don't have it, if you got 3,000, you pay cash for the property. You know, in some cases the property tax. And then the house is free and clear. You go and get a home improvement loan, fix it up, bring the value up, and then refinance it, pull cash out, and then rent it out. So
And
again,
keeping it while you're fixing it up. I have a friend that did that. She
oh yeah, well,
actually,
my daughter did that in the house I mentioned earlier. She bought the home in Harlem City, 183. It wasn't a fix up; it was livable, but it needed upgrading.
right.
She got in there, did some upgrading, had some upgrading done, lived there for about 3 years, sold it, and after repairs, she walked away with $43,000 in a profit. You know, I told you, you know, she's what, 20, see, at that time she was about 28, 29. You know, and so, you know,
There's been a lot of good stuff shared on today. A whole lot. And we haven't really got into the home buying and all that, so I guess we'll have another part 2.
okay.
We'll do another part 2 and talk more about all that. But so just do a closing statement. Just give people your last word and where they can find you. You know, your website, your you know, email, whatever you get, your socials, and we'll start with you.
Again, glad to be here and share this information. Again, my book, The Path to Financial Independence.
Is available at the Doc Shop.
Yes, it
Come
is
get your
available
book
here at the
today.
Doc Bookshop. And also you can go to my website, NicoleLucky.com. Again, that's NicoleLucky.com, where you can purchase the book. I would like to say it does have a wealth of information. It's not just about debt. It's about home buying. It's about getting your credit score right, getting out of debt, investing. So I think it's a good book as far as helping you to decide maybe where you might want to begin. So I encourage you to purchase the book. But again, just glad to be here to share this information. And just to say again, know that there is help available. You have resources. There's resources. And we know what you don't know, you don't know. But us three, we was able to at least, I would like to think, give you good information that's been able to change your situation. And that's what it's all about. You're changing your financial trajectory. So again, just know that the resources are available. Reach out, ask your questions, and know that, hey, I'm not in this alone, and that, hey, you want your 2026 to be better than 2025. So we don't want to wait till January 2026. We want to start incorporating things now. What things do I need to do now to make my 2026 better than 2025?
Okay, again, I'm Ray Williams. Company is DBA, doing business as Greenway Capital Management. You can reach me at the website, www.YenoneEmmitt.com. Spell it out. It's Yenone Emmitt, YenoneEmmitTinc.com. To remember it, look at it. Yenone Emmitt is just the words money time spelled backwards. So Money Time Incorporated, and you can contact us through the website and get a free consultation.
I didn't realize that was.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that came from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just because it's just Money Time spelled backwards.
Okay.
Love it. Well, I am Tara Porter. I'm Tara Porter Insures Life Insurance. Get some. My goal is to make sure that everybody has the information that they need. Again, I want to make sure they have information and tools. I can be reached at 214-864-2414. Again, 214-864-2414. My email address is taraporterinsures@yahoo.com. I am offering free courses. If you don't know what it's cost, if you just think it's gonna be too much, if you're just kind of out of the loop, if you want education, if you want to have a conversation with someone who will share information about what is even out here, what life insurance options there are, all of the types of insurances. If you just want to ask questions, you feel free to reach out to me and I'll be glad to help.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you all for tuning in. I'm gonna have my nephew come and come on the other side. On the other side. All right, thank you all for coming in. If you're in the DFW area, please stop by the Doc Bookshop. We would love to see you, and thank you all for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Enjoy it anytime. And